What's going to happen to me? Today we'll talk about the adverse effects of prednisone. A lot of people want to know, what will happen to me if I take this drug? And here today, as your prednisone pharmacist, I'm going to give you an overview of what it's like to feel, what it feels like to be on prednisone. All right. On our next slide, I'm going to give you a little overview of what we'll talk about today. First, you're going to see my personal experience. I took prednisone, and you'll see how it made me feel. Next, I'll try to show you a complete list, but it's pretty hard to do. And finally, I'll show you where to find more help and how to find answers to your questions. This is me. Can you tell? Doesn't it look just like me? That crazy curly hair. Oh, those big strong muscles. Just kidding. This is what I felt like while I was on prednisone. You can see, we'll start at the top. I felt like an emotional roller coaster. I didn't feel like I was in control of my moods at all. I'd go from happy to sad really fast, and it felt like it was uncontrollable. I had blurry eyes. Especially when I woke up in the morning and be like, do I need a new prescription? Then I'd get really angry really fast. I could see my legs and arms getting skinnier, but it's not because I was losing fat. I was losing muscle. It was breaking down all the muscle, and I was losing protein. I felt hungry all the time. Just if there was a cake, I didn't want just one slice. I wanted the entire cake. That led to weight gain, and a lot of things led to fat redistribution to my belly. So I had these skinny arms and legs and a big fat belly. Then I would retain water, and urine was there like lots all at once. Not a lot for a couple days, and then bam, lots of urine. Bruises that didn't hurt, they just show up on my legs. Like, oh, well, there's a bruise. Where'd that come from? It wasn't even really a bruise. It was just looked like a bruise. My knees felt swollen. I know some people like their fingers swell or their feet swell. It was my knees. And then going back up on the left side, bone loss. I couldn't actually feel this, but I knew it was happening because the calcium was being depleted. That's the number one side effect, is osteoporosis. Then impaired wound healing. It felt like if I got a cut or if I had to have a procedure or anything, it took forever to heal. Then I was taking prednisone for a bleeding disorder. So I had to get my blood checked every week, if not more often than that. And I could see that my blood sugar was high. My neutrophils, which are my white blood cells, were high. And if you want to hear more about all the different ways that it was messing with my labs, I have a video about that I can link to for you. Then I had this weird hand tremor, like when you're hungry or something. It was there. It was weird, like all shaky. I could feel my heart beating extra hard sometimes, or in a weird rhythm, like little heart palpitations. And then my round face. You can see my face right now. I have a nice defined chin. I didn't have a defined chin while I was on prednisone. You couldn't see my cheekbones at all. And my friend said that my face looked puffy. Oh, great. Tell your doctor, your face looked puffy. All right, I will do that. And then I felt old. Like I would have hot flashes, and I'm not old enough to have hot flashes. That's just wrong. So I'd get like sweats, night sweats, day sweats, just break out into sweats. And I don't normally do that. And then finally, insomnia. Oh, insomnia. Just my mind was racing all the time. I couldn't turn it off, especially at 2:00 in the morning. So that was my personal experience. And there were probably more that I can't even remember at this time, but that's what I can remember. And you can see my beautiful red flushed cheeks there too. Okay, so when I was on prednisone, I wanted to know, what can I really expect? I'd studied prednisone in pharmacy school, but all I could really remember was a few things like osteoporosis and weight gain and insomnia. But it's like, really, is that what I'm going to experience? Oh, and like some weird stuff that we had to memorize that I was afraid that might happen to me. So I looked up in a whole bunch of drug references, what are the side effects of prednisone? And you can see this little funnel I made. Those balls represent different online drug databases, Lexicomp, Clinical Pharmacology, Micromedics. And I looked up prednisone in each of those ones. And there's always like the default, the package insert that comes with every pill bottle and theoretically every prescription. And I took all of the information on there, and there were over 142, and I've actually found more than that. There's over 150 different terms. And you can see on the right, different terms like fat redistribution, so like moving the fat from my arms to my belly. Truncal obesity, that means fat in your belly, your trunk. And then buffalo hump, that nice little fat pad on the back of your neck. And moon face, that round face. And I group those all as fat abnormalities. So when you take all of these separate terms and then group them all, there are still 95 different things that are possible to expect. So I was like, great, there are almost 100 things that could happen to me. What's really going to happen to me? I want to know what I'm going to experience. So I was surprised to find when I did that, this pattern. You would think that all of those different drug references would have the exact same list, so that if you took all of the drug side effects that are from clinical pharmacology and up to date and micromedics, that it would just be one circle and they would have the exact same list, basically. But that's not what I found. What's crazy is they had different things listed. So clinical pharmacology had tons. It had 31 that nobody else even bothered to put on their list. And there were only 17 that all 4 of these listed. So are those 17 the ones that we're all going to experience? No, they're not. And so then I looked at these lists and I thought, where's a list of common side effects? Because, most drugs these days, they go through a testing process and they have to find out what % of people experience a side effect. So a brand new drug, say that they give it to 5,000 people who have diabetes. And of those 5,000 people, 50 experience heart palpitations and 100 of them experience sweating. And let's say 500 of those people experience insomnia. So then they can say 10% insomnia, 2% sweating, kind of a deal. They'd get a percent, but there's no test like that that's ever been done for prednisone. And the reason why is because the drug is so old. It was approved in the 1950s before the United States Food and Drug Administration required that kind of thorough testing. So since it's never been done, no one really knows what the common side effects are. I was shocked to figure that out. I thought for sure it must be there somewhere, but no, it's not there. So I had to find a way to make a list for you and me of what we really are going to expect. So this is not based on that kind of rigorous study that they do for new drugs. This is based on surveys and analyses of lots of different scientific literature, but it's the best we got. So the common thing that you can experience when you're on prednisone, if you have been on prednisone a while and you have a friend who's on it, you can send them this list. This is what you're actually most likely to experience. So the most common is moon face, that little puffy roundness to your face. And that's accompanied with fluid retention, the swelling, the weight gain. And osteoporosis is very common, and it's the bone loss and potential breaking and wearing away of joints. Then the insomnia, it's the most tweeted side effect. Emotional lability, just up and down and all over with your emotions in a roller coaster. The carbohydrate intolerance, that basically means that When you're on prednisone, you can't deal with carbs as well. So sugars, especially refined sugars, are what we need to avoid on prednisone. Appetite stimulation, just feeling hungry all the time. And what's hiding behind my face there, sorry, I should have scooted this over on the slide, is weight gain. And a lot of people are surprised to find out that prednisone causes weight gain, but it does. So then these are some things, if you're on prednisone a long time, that you're more likely to experience, but not necessarily people who are on it for just a few days are likely to experience this. Things like hypertension, that means high blood pressure. And myopathy, that's that muscle wasting when my arms and legs got skinny and it was just disappearing. The muscles were just gone. Vertebral compression fractures, that's a big word that means your spine collapses. A little tiny breaks are just crushing your spine. Ulcers, and that's like in your gut where you have lots of pain and nausea and can't swallow and yuck. Growth suppression, especially in children. Cataracts, lots of eye complications going on here. Glaucoma, there's another one. And I already mentioned impaired wound healing. These are often talked about on those side effect lists, but they're pretty rare. So you're not likely to experience them. Exophthalmos means bulging eyes, like super bulging eyes, and that's not very common. Pancreatitis, which is when your pancreas gets inflamed and it's painful and miserable, that's very rare, but it's in all of these lists. Aseptic necrosis of the bones. Basically, that's bone death, where especially your joints, like your hip joint, where the top of your hip, where it inserts, dies, and you have to have a hip replacement. Very rare, but it definitely happens, and it's extremely terrible when it does. PCP infection. That's a really super, super rare infection that usually only affects people who are affected with HIV and AIDS. And it happens when your immune system is down. So if prednisone is shutting down your immune system, this is possible. Also extremely rare. Anaphylaxis, people actually being allergic to prednisone itself, which is so counterintuitive because prednisone is used to counteract allergic reactions, especially like rashes. So that's really rare. If you found this helpful and you want to know ways to help combat those side effects, I have a free Prednisone Wellness Checklist that I created based on evidence, and I hope that helps you.